What up, YouTube? This is going to be the most embarrassing episode I've ever posted. If you're new here, I'm the guy with 44 siblings, Calvin, the cultured boy. I escaped a cult and started my life completely over a few years ago. Starting over has been anything but pretty, and it is still quite messy. And that's why I wanted to do today's episode. My friend Sky has been saying that to really expand yourself as a creator, you need to embrace the cringe. That's also why I want to do an episode like this. But the other reason too is in the culture that I grew up in, the only thing that was truly acceptable was perfection. All of your life, every decision, every step of the way was designed to be perfect. And if you were falling short, then you had this self-defeat, beat-up mentality. And I want to get past that. Besides, when I'm 85 or 95 or 105, and I'm looking back on my life, I want to be able to see the real stuff, even if it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And so as difficult as it's going to be to post this video, I almost didn't post it. So if you're seeing this, then it's because I decided to go for it. But I want to get past that. I want my means of expression, my channel, to be a safe space for me to show all parts of myself. Thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe if you're new here. This is all going to be in one take. Let's get into the episode. Hey, I'm Calvin. Thank you for coming here to this episode of Cultured Boy. I want to come clean on this episode. Not that I haven't, every episode up to this point, it's not like it hasn't been, it's been truthful, it's been good, but there's just more under the surface than I show. And some of that under the surface stuff, I talk to friends and stuff like that, but I haven't shared on my channel. And there's just something that is making me want to. Because the truth is, one thing I've learned is what really makes a really good relationship of any kind is full transparency, full ownership, full accountability, and full, just complete vulnerability, just honesty. And I'm trying to really grow this channel. And I want to have a relationship with my audience, with you watching this, from a place of just knowing what is completely true. And I'll do a quick backup and warm up for people that are new here of who I am, the guy with 44 siblings, the guy with I think I'm going to leave all this in. I think this is going to be an episode that does almost no editing because I'm really trying to just get to the real stuff. And it's, as you can see, it's hard to even say and talk about. It's hard to be real sometimes. We all grow up looking at Instagram and other YouTubers and everything, and it's so easy to second guess yourself and everything else. And I'm in a major mode of like second guessing and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, this hasn't even made a whole lot of sense. So let's just start. For those of you that are new, I'm Calvin. I grew up in what many will call a cult. I call it a cult. I grew up in fundamentalist Mormonism. My grandfather was one of the cult leaders. I have 13 grandmothers, just on my dad's side, because my grandfather had 13 wives. My dad had 4 wives. I grew up with 4 moms, and I have so many siblings that it doesn't usually compute. People have to say, did I hear that right? And yeah, I have 44 siblings. Each one of my moms had 11 to 13 kids each. We all grew up in one house.
and I am the 11th of 45, born in the 11th month. And again, I'm just trying to do an episode that is talking about the real parts of my life, the parts that I don't share very much, the parts with this journey that are usually either edited out or just not talked about. And that's just how hard this journey has been and how hard it is currently. And because I know that you're just seeing even my head bounce back and forth. It's really uncomfortable to me. There's like a certain threshold that I've been willing to cross when it comes to sharing about my life. And I know that for me to have the level of freedom that I crave, I want to be able to actually talk about the things that are really bothering me or have been real major parts of my journey without censoring, without editing it out. And I don't want my audience to just look at me as like this perfect dude, because I'm not. I come from the world of prophets and perfect dudes. I'm not a prophet. I'm a person. And I want to share that. So again, the quick speed up is I left everything just a few years ago. It's so crazy how much I'm having the urge right now just to stop the recording on this and start over. And I'm not going to, just because I'm wanting to show this imperfectionism, because I've been so caught up in overthinking and perfectionism and stuff like that. Because this really matters to me. The podcast really matters to me, and I'm trying to make it work, and it's being very hard to work. Okay, I want to just share like the biggest things that are like on my heart and mind right now that are stressing me out, and then I'll just piece it together however it's going to be pieced together. So this year, I decided I wanted to take the plunge to go into content full-time with this channel. I quit my day job in January. As of this recording, we're in August. And it feels embarrassing to say, but I have not made any money, really, on this channel yet. Or content at all. And there was something in me when I took the plunge where I was like, if I go full time and it's the main thing I'm focusing on, then maybe it'll give myself a chance to actually make this work. And to cut to the chase, just on this one point, and this is not the main point of the video, there's going to be several points of the video, but I've hated debt my entire adult life. In fact, there were years ago that I got completely out of debt. And I was like, yeah, I never want to get in debt ever again, because it was like so stressful and stuff like that. But when I decided to take this plunge for YouTube to go after my dream, I said, I'm willing to do anything, even if that means going into debt, to just stay in consistency, to keep getting episodes out and keep publishing. I live in New York City, one of the most expensive cities in the world, certainly the most expensive in America. I ran out of cash pretty quickly because as soon as I quit my day job, I funded a trip to the Middle East. I was like, it was really on my heart to go make a film around the conflict, understanding it from the human perspective, the people that are actually living through the conflict. I had never done anything like that before. I had never done a film. I thought I could do it in like 2 weeks. It took me 3 months. It took way longer. And 3 months of expenses without actually making any money coming through and then putting everything on that film. Long story short, I got in debt pretty quickly. In fact, as of this recording, It's crazy to say. I am around 110,000 in debt as I'm trying to build this thing. And the other thing that makes this challenging to talk about in this entire episode is I'm a storyteller, and I usually like to get to where I know what the point is, what the beginning of the story is, what the middle of the story is, and what the takeaway is. I'm in the middle of a journey in life right now that I don't know exactly where it's leading. And it's scary. But why am I doing it? Like, because some of my friends have asked me, why did you do this? Why did you go do the film in the Middle East? Why don't you just do some side gigs and stuff like that? And I think it's all connected to my whole leaving the religion journey. So just to give some backstory, and then I'll come back to this point. So I grew up in this environment where every aspect of my life was controlled. Every single detail of my life was controlled. I answered to someone over everything. It was controlled on what to say. It was controlled on what to wear. I couldn't even wear short sleeves. It was so much controlled that the things that were celebrated in church over the pulpit were being complicit, being obedient. There were sayings that, if you've seen the Netflix documentary, Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, keep sweet is a phrase that's been through fundamentalist Mormonism for a long time, and it ultimately means like always keeping a happy, soft demeanor no matter what happens, ultimately losing your agency. And I was raised in that environment. I was raised in an environment where any act of agency was demonized. Literally, like I look at families now, and kids that have supportive parents, which every kid should have, and where they're encouraged to do something that they're interested in. In the environment that I was raised in, you had to fight for any of that. And the best way to get away with anything that had to do with agency is you had to show, if not in argument, but just make it look like that it was all for the family. You very, very, very rarely did things just for you. And again, I didn't have a lot of examples of anything besides that. I was homeschooled. And it wasn't until I started to see that there were bigger ways of living life, and that just wasn't the only way. When I went to college, I'm still the only sibling that I'm aware of that has graduated college. I convinced my dad and grandfather to let me go. Long story short, I ended up taking a philosophy class that put a big fat crack in my worldview, made me realize that, whoa, maybe there's more to life than just this. And I started studying and stuff like that. Graduated college, got married, had a church-arranged marriage because the The regular Mormon church doesn't practice arranged marriages, but fundamentalist Mormonism often does. And our version of fundamentalist Mormonism certainly did. You know, literally never went on dates. I promised myself when I was 15 that I wouldn't even kiss a girl until I married her. And I kept that promise to myself. And I got married approaching 25. And it was around this time where I'm really having to look ahead and create a future for myself, where I'm really asking, what am I going to do? How do I want to live? And I had this deep longing for freedom. And I thought it was just financial freedom. So when I was around 27, I quit my day job cold turkey. I was like, I do not want to be an employee anymore. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And so I moved my wife at the time and our 1-year-old out to California to do door-to-door sales. Me and a buddy selling solar. And that was my first real entrepreneurial endeavor. One of the most challenging things I'd ever done, because it's not only doing something ridiculously difficult, like banging on doors and being rejected. It was also away from every sense of comfort that I had, because I had left my safe bubble for the first time. What that also did is it put me in an environment that was completely different from my upbringing. And while it was scary at first, I started to really like it. I started to like it because I started to realize that there were more ways to live. I started to notice that there were really good people in Southern California that had nothing to do with Mormonism, and yet they were still good humans. After a lot of difficulty getting, business and stuff going, I started to have some success. I hired a business coach and really started to make progress, and I became debt-free for the first time in my entire adult life. And I left the solar stuff and had an online business which allowed me to travel. And I got to travel a good amount, going to different countries, different parts of the United States. And during this whole time, I'm gathering experience, but I'm also going through the questions of what is actually true. And there are so many details to this journey that made me to ultimately leave fundamentalist Mormonism. And I'm not going to get into most of them here, but there was one particular time I remember sitting on a plane and looking out the window. We were passing the plane was passing like a field, where you can see it's like square fields, like let's imagine it's a square mile. And I imagined one of those square miles was my church, because my church was on a square mile. Now, the reason this is relevant too is because in fundamentalist Mormonism, the work as we called it, we were taught that our church was the last remaining church on God's green earth that were living for God. And here I was contemplating what I actually believed in. And I looked out the window and see all of these squares. It reminded me of a quilt. And then I imagined that one of those square miles of the quilt was my church. And I imagined God looking down as well, and having all these different kinds of people. And I just traveled the world for a couple of years and seen so many different kinds of people. And I imagined that only one of those square miles was good and everyone else's was bad. And that didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense that our church was the only good one. And it also didn't make sense based on my lived experience, because my lived experience said that there was a lot of really good people. And so, long story short, I had this big wrestling of what I believed and if I was going to stay. And I cannot emphasize enough how big of a decision that is for a fundamentalist Mormon kid. For a regular Mormon kid. I've talked to regular Mormons, and anybody that leaves a fundamentalist faith, or, I've talked to Orthodox Jews, I've talked to a lot of different people that have been born into something where they were handed a script, a very specific script. And again, mine was so specific. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, with every aspect of life being controlled, is it was talked about over the pulpit that literally you have been bought and paid for. Those were the words. We're heard of all the time. You have been bought and paid for by the church leaders, by our ancestors of the church. And so what was our job? Our job was to be obedient. Our job was to be obedient for God and to be a servant of God. And not only do what you're supposed to do and say what you're supposed to say, but if we made money when we were younger, we were to give it to our dad. We weren't to keep any money at all. I remember sneaking off to mow someone's lawn just so I could have money to go to Wendy's and McDonald's. I would sneak to work so I could have some money. But I decided that I didn't believe it. Now, people ask me all the time, what is the kernel in that decision? When I decided to leave. And it's a lot of things. There's several little pieces, I wanted to be on the right side of history. Frankly, there were just some things about my church that I did not believe. The way it viewed women, the way it viewed African Americans. It was very uncomfortable to me to think about some of the beliefs that my church had taught, that we were somehow better than someone or a group of people because of the color of our skin or the gender that we were. And again, it cannot be overstated how big of a deal it would be to leave, because what leaving meant is facing hell. In the deepest, scariest sense, facing hell. Because in fundamentalist Mormonism, we were taught there's a pre-existence. We existed before this life. This life is just some blip in our existence, some test that determines our eternity, the fate of our eternity. And if we do well, we can go to heaven, one of the heavens that are in Mormonism, the first level, mid-tier, or top tier. The bottom tier, telestial kingdom, middle tier, terrestrial kingdom, top tier, celestial kingdom, the top heaven where God resides. And we were taught that really the only people that had access to the top heaven, even the chance to get to the top heaven in this life, were Mormons, were fundamentalist Mormons. So because we had the truth, we had the one true church. And if we do good and we stay obedient, then we can get to the celestial kingdom. However, because we were given so much goodness, being born in the one true church, if we were to mess up, then God judges Mormons not based on the actions they do, but whatever he gave them, like the blessings that he gave them. And if you were then given the opportunity to hear the truth and to be born in the one true church, and you rejected it, meaning if you left, it is worse than rape, it is worse than murder to leave, because it is not just doing something to a person, it is basically flipping off God. And so you risk your entire life and your eternity. Like, that's what you go up against as a fundamentalist Mormon kid deciding to leave. So leaving was a big deal, but I decided to. Why did I decide it? This is all going to tie back to my point of why I'm even doing this podcast, why I'm doing this YouTube channel, why I don't want to get a day job, and why I'm facing all the debt and everything else, even though it's freaking hard. I realized I had one life. I realized that, yes, I hope that there's something after this. But I'm in the one life that I know I for sure have. Like, of the two things, I know more that I'm in this life than I know that there's another life after this. And I didn't want to squander it. I wanted to live a life based on my own internal guiding system for the first time. My entire life up to that point had been following somebody else's script. From the arranged marriage, from, again, my entire life being mapped out. I was told where I came from, and I was told where I should be going and what I should be about. And I didn't want to play that game anymore. With this one life, I wanted to live it from my own conscience, my own direct experience, not somebody else's narrative, not anything external, internally based. And so I left. And as it was so hard to come to that decision, and as hard as it was to come to that decision, the leaving was even way harder than I imagined it was going to be, which I'm sort of glad that I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, because I don't know if I would have taken the plunge. Because as humans, we are social animals, and that single decision, I did not realize how starkly how much it was going to shake up my entire social foundation. 99% of the people that I knew, all those relationships became estranged overnight. And in a very short time after leaving, also the person I was married to. It was very clear that we wanted different things. I wanted to continue to explore and experience life, and we had differing views of what was appropriate and what wasn't appropriate, and what sort of life should be good for us and the kids, and what she wanted. And so then I also ended up divorcing. And I went through a lot of dark periods. I don't even know if I'm ready to even comb through exactly what it was like to go through the COVID years, 2020, 2021, living by myself for the very first time and leaving everything. It was hard. So that brings us to today. This journey to get to where I am today into 2025 has been anything but easy. It has been beautiful in so many ways. When I started coming to New York in 2022, I ended up finding a friend just by me doing the things I enjoy, like basketball. And that friend had this apartment. So when he moved, I was able to move into this apartment. So moving into New York, into the area of New York that I wanted, here in the East Village, Lower East Side area, it was actually really easy. And I have met so many amazing people since then. And I've had amazing experiences getting cultured. But throughout this entire thing, I've been chasing freedom. And yeah, that's freedom of being able to believe the way I want to believe. But it's even freedom in the kind of work I want to do. I don't want to do work where I'm just trading my time for money. It is not... No. I don't even know what to say, but besides no. Like, I got to a point, like, there was a reason I quit my 9-to-5 job years ago. The thing that led me to quitting that and to moving to Southern California. I wanted to have a deeper sense of freedom. And the truth is, I thought that if I just went for it, I would figure it out. And it is insane how hard it's been to figure it out. Because for most of my last several years, I've been doing freelance work. And one of the freelance gigs I was doing was online sort of sales calls through Zoom. And it paid well. I got really good at it, but it was repetitive and it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I quit to follow my dream. And my dream is this. My dream is to make it on my own shit. I don't want to make it any other way than with my own shit, my own creations, my own videos. And and I think I'm just going to start, I want to just start speaking about the reality of it, because the reality of it all is I show the stuff that is good. Like, I show that I did the film and I show the finished episodes of a podcast, but nobody has known that this hasn't been making money and that I'm 110 grand in debt, probably more, because I'm just cashing in right now on all of the credit that I've accumulated. I've sort of told myself that this, the good news is this is like me preparing for, like, if there was the AI apocalypse and my job was done and I couldn't go back. But this is why I don't want to go back, because I've been on this journey for years, and I'm laying in the bed that I've made where I want full freedom. And I have developed freedom in such a big way with the kinds of people that are in my life that would never have been in my life had I not left the religion, had I not followed my gut and moved to New York City. Like, this is my city. This is where I want my home base to be. I still want to travel and do so many other things, but this one final puzzle piece, one big puzzle piece, is getting the financial piece dialed. And it is not working. And it is like it's just so weird, because I have no rhyme or reason yet of what makes a YouTube video work. I know packaging is a big deal, but is it how do you, sometimes I've made thumbnails where I'm like, this is not going to do very well, and then it pops. And then sometimes I spend a lot of time on a thumbnail and it doesn't do anything, or a title of a video. And it's getting to the point where I'm just like, I'm just going to make whatever the frick I want to make and see what happens. And that's like sort of what this video is. But again, I've had clues that there's something here. Like, I really thought that me having a story as crazy as I have, that this would just work way faster. I'm like, I'm going to be the only kid in New York that has 44 siblings. I'm going to have all these news outlets want to talk to me. And I've had New York Post repost something, but not much of anything. And the internal battles that I'm facing, again, they're just real. And I want to... I just imagine if I'm 85, 95, 105, and I'm looking back on my life journey, assuming that it was really amazing and I made it financially and stuff like that. I want to see where I actually was. And 85, 95, 105-year-old Calvin, right now, things are freaking dire. Like I have my apartment, like right now, currently at risk if I don't figure this out. And I'm so what keeps me going? Because I don't want to be in that cycle, the cycle of the 9 to 5, the cycle of just trading time for money. And the only way that I know how to get out of the cycle of trading time for money is committing to my own authenticity as deeply as I'm brave enough to do, and create things that I want to make and keep on making it and keep on making it and keep on making it and offering it to the public until those things actually start monetizing. But it's not working yet. And again, I usually don't like even making something unless I have a point or a takeaway. And there's not a major takeaway here, except it's not working and that I'm still going and I'm still trying to figure it out. But here's the other thing I want to come clean on. This isn't my first time that I've tried to do a podcast. Some people may know this, but most people won't. But I tried to do a podcast about 7 years ago. I did 251 episodes. A show called Curious with Calvin Wayman. Almost nothing. Now, I learned a lot. It was before video was a thing. I didn't hardly do any videos like I'm doing here. Like I've learned from it. This episode is way more this podcast is more along the lines of things that are connected to me with the cult stuff and me exploring culture. Yeah, I don't know. There's just... I mean, even this episode is part of trusting of... And I just want to be very clear. I want to make it on my own thing. This is not a call for anybody to donate. In fact, if anybody asked to donate, I would say, no, thank you. I appreciate the sentiment, but no, I want to actually have something that, like, I'm doing views, I'm doing tens of thousands of views, something that's valuable for YouTube, valuable for brand partners, and puts me in a foundation to win. Yeah, one of the things I wrote down here is like, what's one of the biggest things that worries me with this too is I've had so much doubt around this whole journey the entire time. Even leaving the religion. Leaving the religion seems so obvious now. Like anybody on the outside looking in was like, yeah, that was definitely a cult. Like, good on you to get out of that. But at the time, it didn't feel that way. And I would say I still, because there was so much doubt around it, there is still flashes of doubt that I feel. And there still are pieces connected to it that are not fully resolved. And one of those is with my kids. Because I have 2 kids. My son Archie is 11 now. My daughter Belle just turned 8. Archie's turning 12. And their mom is in the religion. And they live in the Colorado City, Arizona area. And I live in New York. And for a long time, I was like, how am I going to make this work? What's the right way to do this? Is it to live close to them? Even though that would mean being in Utah or Arizona or Vegas. And none of that felt good for me. I didn't want to live there. Then the other part of me was like, well, they're in a cult. So should I get the law involved? Should I pull them out? Should I bring them to New York? Like, so many different conversations around how to navigate this for them, and in a way that is productive for them, so that they grow up to be grateful humans that have everything that they could possibly ever have. One of the conclusions I did come to early on when it comes to my kids is they need lots of love and then whole, happy parents. Because I thought about what would I want. And if I knew my parents were happy and whole, and I mean, as a kid, that's what I would have wanted for my parents. And I also think a whole, happy person is what also gives you the ability to show up for those you love. And so I made the commitment to do what I could to be happy and whole. And part of that is what made me move to New York. But that isn't without sacrifice. Because I'm not with my kids every day. Part of that is, this might feel strange to say, but part of that I think can actually be good. I think it's good for me because I went through all my 20s without getting to be myself. There are parts of this journey that I'm like, it's good for me to get to develop and not always be on parent duties. But I also have to think about them. And again, I've come to the conclusion that what really matters is like quality time. So we talk every day. I've kept the relationship there. They live with their mom most of the time, but then they also spend time here with me in New York. And the relationship that I have with my kids has gotten deeper over the years. And we can talk about anything. But there are parts of it that just make me wonder. And like I wish that the frequency in person was more, but it just it's just not quite feasible yet. Like, I want to be able to fly directly into Colorado City. There's like a little airport there. But I can't. Doing that would probably take a private jet. And getting to that point, that's going to be like $50,000. Right now I have to fly into Vegas and then drive 3 hours to get to my kids. And that's just one way. But once things start working and there's more flexibility, then I'll be able to. But what that sort of brings up is a couple of things. It feels like there's this clock because kids don't stop growing. Archie's, again, 11, Belle's 8. And they talk about trips with me. Archie often talks about spending a whole school year here in New York. And I'm working so much just to get to the place where I could even get a bigger place and they could spend longer time periods here with me. But I'm sort of sad sometimes on the little mundane things that I know you miss when you're just not there. Like when you don't see the people you love every day. Like there was a time Archie and Belle were here with me in New York. Belle was losing her baby teeth, and she had a loose tooth, and she wanted her papa, they call me Papa, wanted her papa to pull the tooth. And I was looking forward to it because it's just a strange I love little things. I love these little innocent moments that just can last. It's the little things in life. And I love that she wanted me to pull her tooth, because that could be something that we remembered, that I was the one that helped her pull her teeth. And we had talked about it all the way up until we came out here to New York, and I started to help her. One night we were just getting ready for bed, and she asked me to help pull her tooth, and I pulled on it, and it wasn't loose enough. And I started to pull, and I was like, I remember being a kid, and if the tooth wasn't loose enough and you just yanked it, it could really hurt. And I didn't want to do that. So I was like, let's just wait a little bit. Archie asked if he could try it. And I was like, it's pretty hard, but you can give it a shot. And he tried, and he couldn't do it. And Belle seemed pretty adamant. She was like, Papa, please, just one more time. And so I tried to pull it one more time. And I could just tell it was still grabbing. And I was like, let's wait till tomorrow, and maybe we'll try again. And Archie says, I want to try again. And because it was so hard, I was like, it's probably not going to happen. And I even pulled out my phone and recorded this. And I recorded the moment that Archie grabbed her tooth and yanked it so fucking hard that he pulled it out. And there's two things that come from this. First of all, it was such a fun moment, and I have it on video, and it's our special moment that I was there that I captured. And this might sound like a strange thing to say, but I think about this all the time, with flashes throughout the months. It just comes to me. I was also sad. It's a simple thing. I was sad I didn't pull the tooth. That we didn't have that connection, that moment. And at first I was like, well, maybe there'll be another chance. But that's the thing about, living in different states. Like something like a tooth getting loose, that just happens randomly. And that's a little thing of something that I'm missing. And I don't know. I don't know the clear answers yet. Like, I've thought a lot about this, and I've journaled, and I've talked to friends, and some of the things that I've landed on are things like that's good and normal. It shows that you care. And also knowing you, Calvin, you will have those more meaningful moments with your kids, and I do. We do. But I just can't help but feel that, I'm 37, I'm not 27. And it just sort of feels like sometimes that there's just not enough time to do what I want to do. But I also know that time's a construct, and there's plenty of time, and like things can work out, and I think they will, because there have been a lot of good things that have come in my life for leaning into what feels true to me and following my heart and following my gut. But following your heart and following your gut doesn't mean it's pretty all the time. And that's why I'm doing this, like this whole episode that we've just done here. Truth is too, it was like really scary to say some of these things that really keep me up at night or keep me from working and keep me distracted and going into like dopamine spirals into social media or porn is just trying to distract myself sometimes of like how heavy some of this is and how it can feel. But I don't know, there's something it's always been important to me to show the real stuff. I want to continue to work and continue to keep on grinding and making something happen. Because if I'm doing it because I believe it can work. I believe it will work if I keep on being consistent. And I also, when it does work, I don't want to create this false illusion that it was just smooth sailing, because that's what a perfectly polished episode can do. And again, it is so uncomfortable the way this episode is ending to me in my psyche, like, because it just feels incomplete. And in a lot of ways it is incomplete, because I'm in the middle of this journey right now. Like, serious stakes are involved, and that's why I'm thinking of my kids, because I feel like was already had the pressure on to, make sure that the relationship is solid and that we have the time and space together. And that's when I had consistent money. I have not had any income for the entire year of 2025. Coming on 8 months without any income. That's crazy. I didn't know I could ever go through that. It's just being creative and figuring out one way or another to just get the food I need and to cover rent through credit. Yeah, it's so strange. I'm trying to find a way to wrap this episode up, and I'm struggling. Maybe I'll wrap it with where I'm taking it from here, what my plan is. This whole journey from leaving the religion years ago to live a life that is mine. It's sort of hard to plan. You can't really plan and say, these are the steps to get to this destination. So I have had to find different ways of operating and different ways of planning. And one of those ways of operating and planning is getting clear on what matters to me, getting clear on my values, and trying to operate from a place of values. With the idea being that if I'm sticking to my values, then the external world will eventually catch up, and my external world should reflect my values. If I'm genuinely pursuing what matters. So that's what I'm doing. So what matters to me is doing my own thing, my own creations. Creating for an audience in a very personal way, in a very real, unfiltered way. Giving you conversations with people and in conversations in ways that you wouldn't get anywhere else. Like, those sorts of things matter to me. I value what is real more than I value what is polished. That doesn't mean I don't want to polish and make something great. Like, it was a lot of polishing when I created the film Hearts Unknown. But I also wanted to make sure it showed the real stuff. So I'm trying to lean on those values. Even when it comes to things like security. What I'm sort of betting on is, for my life, I'm betting on whenever I'm conflicted between two values, if you choose the higher value, you'll end up being better off and you'll end up getting both values. So here's an example. What happens when authenticity and security are conflicting? So I want to be doing something that's my thing, but I also need to make money. And the thing I want to do isn't making money. Now, I could go make money, could take a day job and try to do both and that sort of thing. But let's say there isn't enough time. You have to pick one. Well, my old self would probably say, I'm going to pick security for a while and then try to do the authenticity piece. But then it doesn't really work, and time just keeps on going by. What I'm betting on is, if I choose authenticity, the thing that I actually care about, that's my highest value, I keep on doing what's real and doing what I want to do, then I'm going to be happier ultimately. And then I will figure out how to monetize that. Therefore, authenticity over security, but it's actually more than authenticity over security. It's authenticity becomes my security. So that's what I'm doing. That's sort of the plan. It's like knowing where I want to go, which for me is being completely full-time creating for a community of people that are open-minded, that are looking for things that are real and raw, finding ways to serve them, trying to be a voice for people that leave things that are difficult. I have noticed that in the audience, I'm starting to collect other ex-Mormons and other ex-people from other strict religious faiths. I want to be a voice for that, of those in transition of something hard. There's books that I've started to write, but I can't put a lot of time on them just because I'm trying to get this piece dialed. Like, there's talks I have conceptualized that I want to give. There's even music that I'm tying together. Like, there's this, I feel like this creative well. And the only way it's going to be unleashed is if I continue to grow as a person and do the things that I actually want and make the things that I really want to make. And what I really want to make is a successful YouTube channel. That's like the foundation of everything. And it's just way harder than I thought it was going to be. I did not realize that it was going to take as much as it has taken. Just to get to where I've gotten to. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this here. I really do want to deepen the relationship that I have with my audience. So if you've watched this to the very end, it really means a lot to me. I'd love to hear why you follow, why you watch, that can just give me a sense of what to lean into more, like what you're curious about. Of course, the same YouTube stuff of please like and subscribe. That means a lot to me. Lets the algorithm know that people should see more of this. But yeah, I want to get more involved with the people that are here. My camera, aka my phone, died. I thought I had it plugged in. I didn't, but we're back for the end here. But hold up. Put that in. Okay. Are we good? Yeah. As I was saying, I want to really start getting deeper with the people that continually watch. I was talking to my sister today that even though I don't have a big following, there are people that keep on coming back and watching, and I want to know why. So if you would be so gracious as to share why you watch and what you watch the channel for, that'd be helpful. There was also a question somebody had asked me. I want to see if I can find it really quick. Somebody asked me some questions and I'm not seeing it now. That bothers me. Well, I've made $3.55 in the last 28 days. So that's not nothing. Why is it not here? I had a really good question. It really bothers me that I'm not seeing this question. Okay, I found the questions. Okay. He has a few. This person's been wanting to ask these questions for a few years. And so I'm going to put him here. It says, your mom commented on an interview I did. This is an interview I did with Anthony Padilla. Did you convince any other members like your mom to leave the cult as well, or did she leave after seeing the episode? It's kind of interesting. I don't know if I've had any direct influence on anybody that has left. I know I have some people that follow my content. I know some people question, and some people leave. And my mom is one of those people that she did leave. I don't think it was anything directly to do with me. I couldn't take that credit. But yeah, she did leave. And there are some people like nieces and nephews and stuff like that that will be in touch with me and say things. And I know at the very minimum, they're questioning whether or not they are going to stay in the religion or not. By the way, this is from Cyber Devil SEC. So that was question one. He has a few other questions I want to get at the end here. He says, at what age did you go to college and convince your elders for permission? So I graduated high school early at, what was I, 16? I think I was 16. Yeah. I was 16, finished a homeschool program, but then it took me a while to get to go to college because my laptop's about to die. Hold up. Okay. But it took me a while to actually go to college because I went and worked with my dad in my dad's construction company for a little while. So how old would I have been? I think I was close to 20 when I started college. Yeah. And the way my dad wasn't really big on the idea. So how I convinced my grandfather is he basically just asked what I wanted to go for, and I told him I was thinking business. And there had been nobody in the community, in the Wayman family, that had gone to college and had a business degree. And so he's like, that's probably a good idea if one of us had that new business. So yeah, that's what I said, and they let me go, and that's how I got in. Okay. Question 3. I was confused when I heard that they teach Plato in business. Was this one of the first lessons you had? I really thought they would teach something like Sun Tzu or something rather than Plato. Okay, so what he's referencing here is this story called Plato's Allegory of the Cave. It is the single story that created the crack in my journey that made me start questioning everything, made me realize I was in a cave of sorts. So why did I learn philosophy at all in a business degree? So here's the thing. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but in America, no matter what your degree is, there are certain general education things that you have to take. And philosophy just happened to be one of the general education things. It actually had nothing to do with the business degree per se. It was just the first semester needing to take general education, took a philosophy class, took a class where I learned about Plato's Allegory of the Cave, realized I had been in a cave pretty much my entire life, and there wasn't anything I'd learned from the inside out. So yeah, that's what happened. That's why I took philosophy even in a business class. And then last question for you, brother, is when you learned about Plato, how long did it take you to have your reality shattered and reconsider everything? Days, weeks, or months? Okay. Instantly questioning. Now, it took years to finally decide it, but I won't forget, man. Like, there was just something after hearing that story where my professor was like, yeah, where are you in the story? Are you honestly somebody that loves truth and you're willing to leave everything you've ever known in pursuit of truth? And then she said, how do you know that? What if you think you're studying truth, but all you're really doing is looking at the shadows on the wall? You're studying other people's projections. And that was the first time I'd ever recognized that there wasn't anything that was directly learned. It was all from my dad or my grandfather or the other church leaders. And so that was pretty instant, where it was just really troubling that I could not say for sure why I believed what I believed. It wasn't something that was genuinely mine. It was that somebody else said so. And that was instantly isolating too, because I couldn't talk to anybody about it. You know, my classmates, I told nothing about my upbringing. We were taught to keep it quiet, and I couldn't tell people in the religion either, because I couldn't have them knowing that I was doubting. But the crack happened instantly. The questioning took years, and really the questioning began with me just trying to prove to myself that the religion was true. And then it took several years till, almost 30. So a long time. That's like a decade from the very beginning of questioning it to finally leaving. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna wrap it there. So anybody else, thank you so much for coming to the end here. It would mean the world to me if you commented anything else you're curious about, anything else from this episode. I'd love to hear how you found me, or if there's anything else that you want me to share, or even why you stick around and watch. It would mean a lot to me. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Oh my gosh, this has not been recording. This is not cool. Why did it stop recording? I bumped it or something. All right, well, the last bit here has less good at sounding audio because it was on the video, but I'm just going to publish this very raw, unperfect video on purpose. Thanks for watching.